Sometimes you will find out that your partner cheated on you from an unlikely source. Most of the time, women stick together and they don't snitch, but that didn't happen in this case. For non-glorious years, my wife Samantha and I were a loving couple. I thought anyway. We lived in the sunny landscapes of California, renting houses in various spots along the coast to satisfy our adventurous spirits. Life was good. We surfed in the mornings, hiked in the afternoons, and spent our evenings cooking elaborate meals together. Our social circle consisted of fellow thrill seekers, many of whom were couples that Samantha had known since high school. Her best friend, Mandy, and Mandy's husband, Ryan, were fixtures in our lives. The four of us were inseparable, taking weekend trips to Napa Valley, road trips up the Pacific Coast Highway, and camping excursions in Joshua Tree. I considered Ryan like a brother. We watched football together, talked business ideas, and confided in each other about our relationships. My whole world came crashing down when an anonymous letter arrived in the mail addressed to me. The letter was from Mandy. The content was concise, but soul-shattering. Samantha has cheated on you 4 times. Each incident happened during her so-called girls' nights out. My hands shook as the room started spinning. I gripped the kitchen counter to steady myself, the letter falling to the floor. Samantha had always been adamant that our girls' nights were innocent fun, Monty Python, gossiping, and dancing. No men allowed. I searched my memory for any red flags, any signs that something more may have happened. Coming up empty, my mind raced with questions. When did this happen? Where did they go? Who told Mandy? And why does she wait until now to tell me? I knew confronting Samantha would be useless. She would adamantly deny everything. I needed more information. I picked up my phone and texted Mandy, "We need to talk ASAP." Within a minute, she responded. "Ryan's out of town until Friday. Come by the house tonight at 7. Mandy had also informed Ryan that I was coming over. This was really happening. Looking at the clock, I had a few hours until I needed to meet Mandy. I decided to go see my colleague, Steve, and get his advice on the situation. Steve and I worked together a few years back, and he was one of the most level-headed people I knew. I met Steve at a coffee shop down the street from his house. As I relayed the bombshell news, Steve listened intently. "You need to talk to Mandy and get the full story before you do anything else. But ultimately, you have got to look out for yourself. Your next steps depend on what Samantha did." Steve's advice echoed in my mind. I left the coffee shop and went for a long drive to clear my head before meeting Mandy. At 7 p.m. sharp, I knocked on Mandy's front door. As she let me in, her eyes were brimming with tears. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table as she detailed the painful revelations 4 times over the past 18 months. Samantha had lied about going out with the girls. She actually went to meet other couples at house parties where many were openly cheating on their partners. Mandy found out when she overheard Samantha on the phone with someone organizing another hookup. Demanding answers, Samantha broke down and admitted everything to Mandy. She swore she didn't have actual sex with anyone, but the deception and betrayal stung sharply. Samantha begged Mandy to keep it a secret, insisting it would never happen again. 4 months, Mandy reluctantly stayed silent, but the guilt ate away at her, and she knew if the roles were reversed, she'd want the truth, so she sent a letter. "I'm so sorry," Mandy said, tears streaming down her face. "I never thought Samantha was capable of this." I sat in stunned silence, grasping the edges of my now broken reality. Samantha had meticulously lied to me over and over. Entire nights of my life were a fabrication. I felt sick to my stomach as I imagined her flirting in house parties, enjoying the ego boost of other men desiring her. Mandy reached out and squeezed my hand. "Whatever you need, I'm here for you." I thanked her for having the courage to tell me the truth, even when it hurt. Driving home, I processed the ramifications of what Samantha did. According to California law, infidelity cannot be used as leverage in divorce proceedings. So even if Mandy was to testify in court on my behalf, it would be useless. Did I want to salvage this marriage? Could I ever trust Samantha again? I decided I needed legal counsel to understand all my options. The next morning, I scheduled a consultation with Allison, a seasoned divorce attorney recommended by Steve. You have two options, Allison explained. You can either confront your wife when she returns or see if there's any hope left for the marriage. Many couples do manage to heal after an affair with counseling, but it takes tremendous work and commitment on both sides, or you can discreetly initiate separation. Start untangling your finances. Find a new place to live and have her served with divorce papers. That route obviously provides a clean break. I wasn't ready to make any definite moves yet. So Allison summarized the key logistical steps if I decided on divorce. Over the next few days, my thoughts hovered between utter heartbreak and boiling anger. One minute, I collapsed on the couch in tears. The next, I was throwing tennis balls angrily against the garage door. By Friday, my dominant sentiment was indignation at Samantha for betraying me and at myself for being so oblivious. I decided right then that I was leaving her. Steve's wise words echoed in my mind. You've got to look out for yourself for once. I needed to put my own well-being first. I texted Steve explaining my decision. Always pragmatic. He said, let me know how I can help. I asked if I could rent his vacant apartment for a few months while I figured out the next steps. Of course, it's all yours. Steve immediately responded. When Samantha's car pulled into the driveway Friday night, I was sitting on the front porch steps waiting for her. I watched her face transform from cheerful to crestfallen as she registered the suitcase at my feet. We need to talk. I have something to show you first. Before she could conjure any excuses, I withdrew Mandy's letter from my pocket and held it up. Samantha's face contorted in shock. How could Mandy do this to me? She shrieked. You're going to believe something from Mandy over your own wife? She's a miserable, bored housewife who lives through my drama. I shook my head in disbelief at her audacity to make Mandy the villain. Save it, Samantha. The jig is up. I know about the house parties. I know about you meeting with other couples and other men. I know about everything. Samantha's eyes darted around frantically as she grabs for plausible denials. Of course there was no sly way out. Mandy had already come clean with the whole dirty truth. I'm so sorry, she choked out. You have to believe me. Nothing physical ever happened. It was just stupid thrill-seeking. It was an invitation-only scene, had house parties with hot singles and open-minded couples. It was a total farce. I listened, stone-faced, unable to muster any sympathy. The lying is just as bad as the cheating, Samantha. For over a year, you've been living a double life behind my back. We're done. Samantha pleaded tearfully for a second chance, but my mind was made up. I carried my suitcase to the car, ignoring her frantic questions about where I was going. As I backed out of the driveway, she ran alongside my car, sobbing and begging me not to leave. My heart ached, seeing her so distraught, but I maintained my composure and drove off. She brought this on herself. For me, the only way forward was out. I moved into Steve's fully furnished apartment that night. He came over and helped me bring my things up from the car. Settling onto the couch with a beer, I finally let the emotions of the day spill out. Steve listened quietly. I was beyond grateful to have such a true friend. By morning, the events of the last week felt like a bad dream. In some ways, it was a relief to have the truth exposed instead of lurking silently, but my sense of betrayal still stung sharply. Samantha had been my whole world for nearly a decade. Blowing up that world left me feeling rudderless. I distracted myself with the logistics of getting settled in the apartment. I contacted the bank to remove Samantha from my accounts and revoked her authorized user status on my credit cards. Next, I emailed my boss, explaining I was dealing with an unexpected life change and needed to work remotely for a bit. Luckily, my job in tech allowed that flexibility. I spent the next few days working from my couch, grateful for the productive distraction. By Wednesday, word had spread among our wider social circle about the implosion of my marriage. My mom and sister called to check on me, both offering their unconditional support. They were as shocked and disappointed as I was about Samantha's duplicity. Later that day, I met my dad for lunch at a quiet bistro. I braced myself for the I told you speech, since my dad never quite trusted Samantha's adventurous, free-spirited nature, but he was sensitive and sympathetic as I confided the painful details. He agreed to keep it quiet from my mom for now. She had always adored Samantha, and the revelation would devastate her. I decided to take control of the narrative before Samantha could twist the story against me. That night, I posted a video on Facebook Live, knowing many of our friends would be watching. I'm here to set the record straight. Many of you are probably wondering why Samantha and I have gone our separate ways. Well, the truth is she was living a double life, attending house parties with married couples. All the while, she was claiming she was just doing girls' night out. I went on to explain Samantha's web of lies and betrayal over the past 18 months. Even a few of Samantha's childhood friends messaged me privately to apologize for her behavior. They were shocked and angry on my behalf. The emotional relief I felt at blowing Samantha's secret wide open was comforting. My phone buzzed incessantly with calls and texts. Childhood buddies, former colleagues, cousins I hadn't talked to in years, all reaching out to check in. I awoke the next morning to an avalanche of missed calls and voicemails from Samantha. Her tone cycled through rage, disbelief, and pleading. I silenced my phone and focused on returning messages from people I actually wanted to talk to. My inbox was also flooded with emails containing links and screenshots. Facebook Live had gone viral within the California surf community. People were reposting it everywhere in solidarity with me. Samantha was being painted as the villain, which felt justified after her years of lies. 2 months after I left Samantha, an official-looking envelope arrived at Steve's apartment. I ripped it open to find divorce papers from Samantha's attorney. Even though I was expecting it, the finality of seeing it in writing hit me hard. Samantha was petitioning for an even split of assets and debts accrued during our marriage. She also wanted me to assume the lease on the BMW she drove. Since it wasn't my name, fair enough, I just wanted closure. The next few weeks were consumed with legal proceedings, document sightings, affidavits, negotiations between attorneys. In the end, the process went as amicable as possible given the circumstances. I kept the house we own in Big Sur. Samantha kept the BMW. I told her and the attorney I would give her a year to refinance the BMW in her name. They both agreed. Our savings were divided down the middle. On paper, it was a clean split. Emotionally, though, I was still splitting apart inside. My new normal of solitary evenings felt jarringly foreign. I missed Samantha's laughter ringing through the house while we cooked dinner, missed her playful smile first thing in the morning, missed the partnership and camaraderie that held our relationship together for nearly a decade. But trust, once it's broken, it's impossible to repair it. Samantha fractured the very foundation of our marriage. Every time I looked at her now, all I saw was a brokenness. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, I was craving a clean slate. Life in California was too entwined with memories of Samantha. I decided to relocate to Seattle, partly for a fresh start, but also for an exciting new job opportunity. Steve helped me load up a U-Haul with the belongings I wanted to keep. I took one last look at the place we once called home, said a bittersweet goodbye to the Pacific Ocean, and embarked on my next adventure. Settling into Seattle felt cathartic. I reveled in exploring a new city, finding favorite cafes and libraries to work from. Through a neighborhood listserv, I was introduced to a group of guys around my age who also worked in tech. We started getting together regularly for happy hours and camping trips. In this new chapter, I felt in control of my narrative. I was building a life centered around things I valued: career, community, and truth. My trust in others had been shattered, but I was slowly piecing it back together by being more selective about who I let in. A year and a half after leaving Samantha, my heart was starting to open itself to possibilities again. I met an intelligent, rounded woman at a friend's rooftop party. Over the next few months, we fell into an easy rhythm, taking weekend bike rides and cooking meals together. It was a stirring reminder that light can still emerge from darkness. Healing takes time, but the right people can illuminate your path back to hope. My wounds from Samantha's betrayal will always leave scars, but scars are nothing to be ashamed of. They are silent evidence that I survived. I made it through the fire and emerged on the other side, older and wiser. What Samantha did was an egregious violation of trust, but the blame rests squarely on her. I don't regret leaving everything behind for a shot at something better. Don't we all deserve to feel truly seen, known, and loved? I'm grateful that a friend cared enough to tell me the truth, even when it hurt. Her courage enabled me to take back control of my life. Now I can devote my energy to more meaningful pursuits and people. So here I am, embracing this new adventure in an unfamiliar place. I'm crafting a life centered around authenticity, second chances, and a world of possibilities. My past will always be a part of me, but it's time to start writing a new future. Well, in my opinion, I think Mandy opened the door to Samantha cheating, but her guilty conscience got the better of her, which I think was the right thing to do. Now, what I gather was Mandy and her husband seemed to be swingers. I might be wrong, but Samantha took the opportunity to label those outings with Mandy